What's good, guys? It's officially
Unofficial.
yeah. My name is Lord Boomas, and I'm here with
As already know, the name is DUBORS to boys.
yeah. Today we'll be discussing about adoption. So the topic is it advisable to adopt? So you can leave your comments in the comments section as we watch the video. Yeah. So for me, it's advisable to adopt, but you should just make it legal. That's my exception about that. That's it. Because, and I think we should make it clear to our audience that adoption is the process of keeping someone who isn't your biological child by yourself, taking care of the person, letting the person have a sense of community, love, and then that affection. So adoption is like you treating the person that you're adopting or the adoptee. Yeah, you are treating the adoptee as one of yours, as family, but not as just an individual just does somewhere to do whatever you want to do.
Your man turns social studies teacher.
Which
You give definition of adoption and Charlie, I think the topic is a topic that has quite an obvious answer. But it's rather unfortunate that the part of the world where we find ourselves, people have not really embraced the culture of adoption. I mean, it's very typical for you to go into a traditional home and have the elderly in the house steadfastly, like firmly protesting against a woman who perhaps hasn't had a child for a very long time and wants to adopt. They shame on the idea of adoption, and they are not to be blamed, because when you think about adoption, you think about two things. Firstly, the child in question, and then secondly, you as an individual. If you happen to be a single parent, say normally, let's say a woman going to adopt, I don't know the rules and regulations that governs an adoption, especially from a government institution, but I believe that they will want to give the child out to a family, that is a full household where there is the father, there is the mother. I don't think that they will
a
give
family that can take care of the child.
exactly. I don't think they will give the child out to a single parent. But even in that circumstance, like I was saying earlier, there are two things that come to play. First, the child, and then the people going to adopt. If the woman is in agreement with the idea, then she has to convince the husband to come on board. And normally, as compromising as some partners may be, they might not be entirely into the whole idea. You know, women naturally are very sensitive. It's the reason why we want more women to go into nursing and men not into nursing. But the point I'm creating is that women are more sensitive and they are geared to care naturally, especially if they they've been lacking something for a very long time, in this situation, a child. So it is very natural for the woman to love the child as her own. But for the husband, whom may not have been entirely comfortable with the idea, it becomes a difficult thing for he himself and then for the child. Because then he wouldn't vent his frustration on his wife. He will start venting his frustration on the child. But that is not to say that there's always a negative side to adoption. Of course, there's a positive side where a couple whom for a very long time have been looking for a baby decide to adopt. They love the child so much so that they will go to hell and back for them.
No, I'm coming on. Yeah, you still not answer the question. Is it advisable to adopt?
I'm coming to the point. I want
You want to establish a foundation.
exactly. I want us to establish the whole ideology behind an adoption before you say it's advisable or not.
That's advisable.
Because you see, these days, if you don't have a child, adoption is not only the way out. There's
Okay.
IVF, IVR,
But as you are saying, not
the
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 way
the
out. I think I watched a documentary recently on some this is it magic pregnancy or something. It's happened in Nigeria.
yes. I
And they
watched
were
that
like,
documentary too,
yeah,
BBC documentary.
and they were like, if you want to get pregnant and you are not fertile or something, or you are not just giving birth, you can come to the hospital and then they will do some magic for you to, and the process will take you about 9 months. They'll have to inject you, keep on injecting you, and be
It
treating you
wasn't. It
like,
wasn't. It wasn't. They didn't call it magic. They called it miracle.
yeah,
And the whole situation was that they weren't entirely feeding the people a lie. You see, there is a condition with pregnancy which is very rare. If you watch the documentary very carefully, you realize that some of the experts that they consulted were speaking on that. There's a condition that is very rare where a woman is pregnant but she's not showing any
it's
signs
not,
of
yeah, having
pregnancy
any sense,
or
yeah,
of
yeah,
pregnancy.
yeah.
Sorry. So that is the information that they feed to the women, and
And
then
then
eventually
they feel
they
like, yeah, it's true.
exactly
And then after 9 months, they go
after
back to the
9 months
hospital.
they will
They sedate them,
indose them then
and
Charlie
then they give
crazy.
them a baby.
They give them a baby. They also believe that I think there was a part of the documentary where I think the minister or the governor, I don't know, there was
Yeah,
a
the
lady
minister.
who
Yes,
was
it's the minister.
interviewing another woman,
Lady.
and the
Yeah.
woman was
It
insisting that
was
that was a
it
baby.
was so like that's a baby.
Do you know the process of having a baby? You should even have some, but
And you were still ovulating and even menstruating.
the point
So
the point is that you for some of these things, people take such actions out of desperacy. That is why the question of is it advisable to adopt is a very
dicey one.
is a very dicey one.
Yeah.
Someone might look at it as a very plain question, but it's a very dicey one
Very,
because
very
there are so many things that factors into adoption.
adoption. The
Let
aftermath
me
of
let,
it.
let me even give you a scenario where let's say myself and my wife go and adopt, and then later we have our own baby.
What?
It changes the whole scenario.
It changes it.
The adopted baby will go through shit,
Yeah.
especially if he's not lucky to find himself in a very good home.
And no matter what, no matter how good you are, you will
You
surely
will
have that
Charlie,
affection to your children
you will.
rather than the adopted one.
So then you start depriving the adopted
Adopted
baby
child
or
from
child
what
of
he or
what he or she deserves.
and this is where I think the government has to come.
And you see, one of the things, if I like watching documentaries a lot, and one of the series or type of movies that I like watching a lot are crime series. Reason I like crime series is because it develops your mind. At least when you're watching the whole thing, you try to, fix in their own puzzles.
Yeah.
Now, when you're watching some of these documentaries and crime series, you understand that most criminals have a psychological background.
Yeah.
Most of the things that they do is because of some
Something
childhood
that they've gone through,
that they've
their
had.
experiences.
Let me give you a worse scenario. You're going to adopt a child. You are loving the child, giving the child everything that he or she deserves. God is so good. Your wife gets pregnant. You have another child. Your attention shifts to this biological child. Naturally, it shifts to this biological child. This adopted child is there, witnessing all this attention given to another person. He grows and he has this vengeful character built in him against
the biological child.
Biological child, or even the worst case scenario, you could even build an evil character towards people who adopt. Yeah. And this person becomes a serial killer.
It's
So
true.
the person is monitoring anybody who wants to adopt, and they're just going to kill the person. There's so much that goes into adoption.
It can happen, and you because as you were saying from the movies that you watch, this especially the Western guys, that's what normally motivates them to do whatever they do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So so for me, I advise that we adopt, but the problem attached to it that if you want to adopt, just make it legal. And because I'm saying you should make it legal because maybe you adopted a child without knowing the parents, and then eventually the father comes in or the mother comes in that this is my child. What right do you have over this child? Meanwhile, this is the child you've taken care of when he was let's say little. So maybe he's going to get married. And then this father comes in and he'll be like, "Mina meje,
I think yeah, that's the funny thing. But I think the most important thing to consider when adopting is, would I love this child for the rest of my life? I think that is one of the questions that we should ask ourselves.
Yeah.
Would I love this
Nope.
child for the rest of my life? The reason why I'm saying that you should ask yourself this question is because, see, you could adopt someone or a baby or a young boy, and you could love the child or the boy so much so that when he grows up and he even finds out about his real parents, he will still want to be with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
There
There are some cases.
to a larger extension, he might even want to build a relationship with his biological parents, but he will still call you his mom or his dad.
Yeah.
Because of the
Because of
love
the love and
that you've shown the
affection that
person.
you've shown.
That's what I'm saying. That bottom line again, is it advisable to adopt? I think adoption should be not the last option for you as a couple, but before you decide to adopt, think thoroughly. Read my lips. Thoroughly before you adopt. I'm not saying that it's not advisable to adopt. And I'm not saying it's advisable to adopt.
So what are you saying? So what are you saying?
I be like the Matrix. I'm in the middle of the ocean.
You see that? Yeah. Just said, if you are not for me, you are against
yeah, against me. Come on. I for the one side. So, what I'm saying is that adoption is good.
Yeah.
Adoption is good. And adoption cannot be so good. Okay, is it advisable to adopt? Yes,
Okay.
it's advisable to adopt. But
Okay.
but
There's always a but.
it should be a decision that would take you time. You should take time to think through it before
And
make the
then take
move.
action.
You shouldn't. You see, humans we normally do things out of desperation. When you are desperate for something, it drives you to do crazy things. So I was sitting in a Trotsky. I was sitting in the Trotsky headed somewhere, and the driver was playing the show and antenna.
Show there.
Yes, it was playing a show antenna, and there were two quick stories that came. I'm telling the story towards a point. The point of desperation, what desperation can make people do. And I understand, I'm very sure that a lot of people have stories or scenarios about what desperacy has led them into. So this guy works as a mortuary, and because of his job, he doesn't get women to like him.
Yeah.
For a span of about 14 years, he's there, no sex, nothing.
So he was a celibate? Oh.
I don't know whether he was a celibate before he got the job, but he says that he's been in a job for a decade and 4 years, which is 14 years.
Wow.
And for the past 14 years, he hasn't slept with a living woman.
Wow. Which means he has been
sleeping with the dead people. And his reason was that it got to a point where he couldn't contain it anymore. So what happened is that when they bring the bodies fresh, he was saying that when the bodies coming like that, they are more like a normal human being who is asleep.
So let me chip in this.
So he does it.
That's to women. What if the watchman was gay?
You go scatter
Will you raise me?
Crazy. But the point is, desperation. I was watching another video. I was listening to the show again, and there was again another man who was sleeping with his nephew, a 9-year-old girl. Charlie. Some of the things, if you hear, you would think, that's why I'm saying that you would think that some of these things, they are spiritual. Welcome to Africa, where most of these things people intertwine it with spiritual. But some of these things, they are either psychological or this. Because
nephew, 9 years.
It'll be crazy. So desperation, point is, desperation makes you make terrible and bad decisions. And I've been in that position before, where secondary
school. Not always though. No.
No, always. But that's what I'm saying, that I've been. Well, desperation can make you take good decisions.
Yeah.
But I think if we are going to compare the good to the bad, I think
the negative side.
Yeah. Because myself, I have a story where in secondary school, most of my colleagues were having mobile phones, and I was desperate to buy a mobile phone.
Pressure.
I went to Circle. As I talk Circle, there people know the extent.
You kiss them down.
Yeah. So adoption is a good thing. I have a close relative who has adopted, and it's beautiful when you see her with her adopted babies. It's so magical.
You do say
You know.
babies, which means not just one.
No, not just one.
Does she have a biological child?
She doesn't have a biological
Oh,
child.
okay.
She adopted one, and later she adopted another, and then another. So 3.
Which means she's enjoying it.
And it's if you see them, it's oh my god, it's beautiful. They make you feel like having a baby. She make you feel like having a baby. But yeah, I day young. Maybe no for Dima, this thing is right now.
Right now, yeah.
But and if you are going to adopt too, this is an area of focus. I think the topic we're even discussing today is a little bit above our heads, considering the fact that none of us has had a baby before, none of us has started a family. But again, it's a podcast. Opinions are being shared.
Yeah. So drop it in the comment section. Yeah.
I think it's important that you know where you are going to adopt a baby from.
Yes. It's very important. That, like as I was saying, you don't know where you're adopting from. You don't know whose child is it, because the child cannot just come out like out of nowhere. Two people might have come together to bring up that child. So if you don't know where that child is coming from, then you should just be ready for the consequences in future, because like the father will surely come. He might come.
They will surely come.
It might come.
Yeah,
If it was, let's say, I shall 2-2 for those people, mostly they might not come for it. Mostly.
Who told you?
Or the people who get raped.
They play.
Yes, it can happen, but no.
That's what I'm telling you, that situations make people take decisions.
Yeah. So
a
like,
mother
why
might
I
have
said that
a child out of wedlock,
Mm.
and eventually, sometime in the future, or want to build a connection with that child.
Yeah. So look, this is a situation where an armed robber, let's just say an armed robber rapes someone, and then the girl gives birth. After giving birth, the armed robber just run away, and then the woman gets married to someone else. The man, in his own ways, wants to adopt that child. You see, the armed robber.
I don't even think that one is adoption.
No,
I get married to the woman.
Yes.
That's a baby. So you can't say basically that's not really like adoption. Adoption. That's like your son, your daughter.
No, but before you make it adoption, you have to pass through legal processes. The child can be with you, but that's not your son.
Oh yeah, I understand that.
Until you get through the processes to become an adopted child.
But the point is that in a situation like that, who would actually know that this child is not your child?
The father.
Yeah, I mean the father will know, but I'm saying outside the party of the father and the family, who would actually know?
Nobody might know.
Because
the father might
you can simply do an affidavit for the child and change the child's name to yours, the name to yours.
The DNA still stands.
The DNA still stands. True. But I'm saying that in the situation like that, the outside world, how are they going to know that this is not your child? So
what if the album goes to Antina?
I'm about goes to Antina. And
a reform number actually.
Even that, you see, even that people, I strongly believe in the fact that people have reconciliation to make. Everyone has a reconciliative heart. I don't know if reconciliative is correct English. People Google it, but you get what I'm saying. Everyone has that heart. No matter how bad or evil you are, I think there comes a point in your life where you sit down and you reflect on your actions, and a part of you just want to do some good to make up for the evil that you've done.
Yeah.
So with the scenario you're giving, armed robber go rape somebody. Years to come, if the armed robber realizes that he or she has a baby somewhere, see, it's different if you don't know. If you don't know something, you will live your life.
Yeah.
But
if you know,
it has some kind of burden that you just want to meet the child, and just know. It comes with some sort of crazy burden.
Yeah.
And in a situation like that, in a situation like that, suppose the arm robber comes back, it's beautiful to as the custodian of the child to let the child know that this is your actual parent. Because you see, one of the things that I think is not very effective in our part of the world is communication. Communication is not very effective in our part of the world. Because I believe if you adopt a child at a point in his life,
You should make the child.
you should make the child known.
Yeah. I think I've had an experience with
You
that.
should make the child
The
known.
girl was adopted when she was a child. She never knew her parents, so
Mm.
she thought the adopted woman was the mom, and then the man was the father, until she completed the SHS.
There's even a scenario. that
There's
is not.
when the
That's
girl heard
Charlie.
it, when the girl heard it, she just left where she was. Like the girl was being taken care of. She was given a car, like everything. She was very comfortable.
Crazy
Like
things
she
happen.
just left.
There's another scenario where there was a lady who had a child, and she was very young when she had a child. But the lady had a mother, so indirectly, the child's grandmother was whom the child called mother,
Called mother,
and
they will
thought
be
the
calling
lady was a sister.
Charlie.
And it went on for so many years. So many years.
It happens, especially
You
to
know,
the teenage pregnant.
They never
pregnant
mentioned
girls.
it. Even after her grandmother initially
Passed
died,
it.
she still didn't know that that was her grandmother. She thought it was her mom.
That thing
Crazy.
is very bad, you know.
It's
Knowing someone to be your mom and then eventually come to realize she wasn't your mom. Then you start. Is it? Why are you going to reminisce? You're not going to
and
reminisce.
it's worse if you don't find out the truth and the person leaves her.
Charlie,
It's worse.
you might feel
Hey,
like,
it's
what should I have done wrong? Or what should I have done right?
It's terrible.
But Charlie,
It's terrible. So the topic of adoption here, it's a very broad, it'd be a very broad topic. But like I've been saying from the beginning, you should think thoroughly before you adopt. One of the greatest questions you should ask yourself is not even if you'll be able to provide for the child. The biggest question you should ask yourself if you are going to adopt is, will I continue loving this child? And that question doesn't come with just adoption. It comes with every other thing, especially when it comes to dealing with people. You know, there are times that I'm sure it has happened in every family where you see your mom or your dad or an extended relative going in for an extended family to come and stay with them, you know. And at the point, attitude and things change. So it's a very big question that you should carry in your mind. Outside the topic of adoption, even if you're going to take a girlfriend, you should ask yourself. Especially
to the desperate ones. I mean the girls them did there. So
here's the question though. Why do you think people like to adopt babies to young children?
It's because the baby might have the love from the baby to the adopter. I don't know if it is right. To the adopter will be genuine rather than the little child.
Well, how do you go into that conclusion?
Because for me, what I believe is that the baby might think that's the mother, and they will love her as mother. She'll call her as mother and do everything for her as the mother. But when you adopt someone who is old, who already knows the mother, she knows that I once had a mother, my biological mother.
But what if the person is an orphan? The person never knew his mom or his dad, and as a young child, and you adopt.
Yes. So with that one, that's where community will come in. Maybe the child took up some attitude from the society, which the parents who are adopting wouldn't like, and they wouldn't like to bear that consequences. So it would be better to start from scratch rather than to just go and pick someone from somewhere and then trying to reshape him or her. For me, that's why
I'm telling you, there's some of your phrases. Pick someone from somewhere. Why people they pick?
Yeah,
I think the reason why people go in for the baby is because me, I believe the most beautiful thing about childbirth is the baby. You know, they're cute as fuck.
So after is she being cute or he being cute?
That's what I'm telling you. That I think the most beautiful part of having a baby, of having a child, is when they are babies. You know, the cuteness. It's heartwarming. And I think that's the reason why people like to go in for the babies rather than,
Oh,
and like you're saying, it's easy for you to nurture someone from ground up, instill your values in the person that
than to put
to
someone
have
who is
someone
old.
who already has some
Charlie,
sort of
Charlie.
foundation of.
Already 17 months, they, you already know. Power. So, Charlie, today has been an interesting one, and I hope you all have something to say about it. And don't hesitate to put your comment in the comment section. And also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and then share this video. Let's build this officially unofficial.